a fried egg. Almost none of these men, and virtually all of them were men, white men, set out to be sports writers. If the vacancy at the paper had been on the city side, they'd have been just as grateful. Only in retrospect did they consider themselves lucky to have landed where they did. A fresh hire on the city or metro desk would be told to get the clips out of the library, the morgue, to see where the ages and addresses went. You can't finesse a robbery or a rape. You have to just tell it. Meanwhile, the new arrival in sports, the toy department, might be assigned to cover an obscure tennis tournament or swimming meet that very day and be told to keep it short. I knew a fellow who went to work first in the library and later for the sports section, perfectly reversing the normal course of life. He started out in the morgue and ended up in the toy department. The beauty of covering sports from a newspaperman's point of view was that the news in sports was scheduled. There will be news at 8 o'clock at the stadium. Crime reporters came along after the coroner to question the cops. Sports reporters described things as they happened. Consequently, different muscles were developed. When a charter airplane carrying the University of Evansville basketball team crashed in Indiana, killing everybody on board, half of the Midwestern papers dispatched general assignment reporters. The other half sent sports writers. The former hung around the airport, interviewing the Federal Aviation Administration investigators. The latter hung around the campus chapel, talking to the crying kids who were stroking each other's hair. Both divisions rode in the same boxcar in a light rain to the muddy crash site on the rim of the Evansville airport. One side concentrated on the geometry of the broken fuselage and wings. The other wrote about the bottle of Aqua Velva aftershave lotion that didn't break, the salad dressing that went unused, and the luggage that was intact. Everything survives but the people. Did we have an Oriental pilot? One FAA man called out to another. Yeah, I think so. I got him. In their cold detachment, the FAA men reminded the sports writers of the grizzled pros in losing teams' locker rooms, holding their hearts in by sticking out their chests, trying not to weep. At late dinners after games, the sports writers never talked about sports, not even of the fantastic feats they had just witnessed. Only one subject was ever discussed: newspapers. It was all they talked about. It was all they cared about. They liked the feeling of being newspapermen, of being at Madison Square Garden and handing off their telexes, page by page, to Western Union operators named Myrtle or Blanche, who would occasionally tap them on the shoulder in mid-paragraph to whisper reassuringly, "Don't worry, hon, I changed who to whom. Thanks, Myrtle." Picking up the paper the next morning, seeing their stuff set in clean 2-column measure, they marveled, "Son of a bitch if it doesn't sort of make sense." These men wouldn't have been good candidates for TV shouting matches or social twittering, though they'd certainly have approved of the extra money. They were gentlemen. They never failed to introduce a newcomer, even from a rival paper, to the manager at spring training. For reasons of his own, Doc Green of the Detroit News always wore a tuxedo. He once hired a helicopter to take him directly from the Pimlico racetrack on Preakness Day to a friend's wedding. Late one Saturday, at a table in the darkened Yankee Stadium kitchen, 8 or 10 riders were decompressing together when Doc arrived with a large bouquet of balloons. After tying one to the back of each chair, he sat down and joined the conversation. About 5 minutes later, Red turned to me and whispered, "You'll meet a lot of guys in life who will stand you a beer, but Doc's the only one who ever brought balloons for the house." Chapter 1. The Empire State Building, the Redwood Trees. Shirley Povich and I used to tell each other we'd be totally unhireable now. Povich, the only man ever listed right there between Louise Pound and Hortense Powdermaker in Who's Who in American Women, became a sports writer by caddying for Washington Post owner Ned McLean in Bar Harbor, Maine, and for McLean and President Warren G. Harding in Washington. Because Shirley was such an eagle-eyed caddy, one who never lost a golf ball, McLean only naturally appointed him boy sports editor of the Post. Throughout the mid-1920s, in a column titled This Morning, Povich chronicled